Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to, on behalf of Newry, Mourne and Down District Council, to the launch of Council's Regeneration and Economic Development Strategy. My name is David Elliott from Lanyon Group, and I'll be your host on this momentous day, one which marks the beginning of the next chapter in the district's journey towards social and economic prosperity. The Regeneration and Economic Development Strategy is the result of deep research and analysis of every aspect and into every corner of Newry, Mourne and Down's economic and social landscape. It takes account of the region's many strengths, pinpointing how they can be built upon, and also identifies where there are deficits which needs to be filled. The strategy sets out the Council's aspirations to drive social and economic growth, and details a roadmap as to exactly how those aspirations can be met. More of that very soon, but firstly, a quick rundown of how the event today will run. Very shortly, we're going to hear from Chief Executive of Newry, Mourne and Down District Council, Marie Ward, and we'll then have 3 panel discussions which will focus on the main pillars on which the strategy is built. They are regeneration and modern infrastructure, entrepreneurship, business growth and innovation, and employability and skills. Now, we're lucky enough to have some of the best brains in each of those areas with us here today. And as such, we're going to have some fascinating insight and some really lively debate. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming our guests in a very short while. But before we kick off, we're going to hear from the Chair of Newry, Mourne and Down District Council, Councillor Laura Devlin.
Welcome to the launch of the Regeneration and Economic Development Strategy for Newry, Mourne and Down. This is a momentous moment in our region's history. This strategy charts an ambitious and confident way forward which will fulfil and advance the objectives of our corporate plan and lay a pathway to social and economic growth. It will make our economy more resilient and agile in the face of the twin challenges emerging from both Brexit and the COVID-19 pandemic. It will heighten our competitiveness, boost our innovation and fine-tune our business aptitude. The strategy will also make the most of our geography. It will help us exploit our strategic location on the Eastern Economic Corridor, equidistant between Belfast and Dublin. It will help us to make the most of our peerless natural beauty and to woo tourists to the rolling landscapes of South Armagh, the Mourne Mountains, the shores of Strangford Lough and everywhere in between. So we can share with the world the landscape we are lucky enough to call home. The strategy will pave a path which will revitalise our cities, towns and villages and act as a catalyst to economic development, which will provide not just jobs but livelihoods. To reach those aims, we as a council have carried out deep research to identify the key areas where we can provide support for business creation, growth and inward investment. The interventions laid out within the strategy tackle impediments to growth and will allow us to provide the right conditions for our already world-class businesses to thrive and for entrepreneurs to flourish. To reach our ambitions, we have recognised that we need the support of all stakeholders, from the private, the public and the education sectors. But by working together, we will succeed in making Newry, Mourne and Down an even better district to live, work and learn. This is a strategy which was very relevant when it was first conceived, and it's even more relevant as we face into the headwinds caused by the pandemic and Brexit. Given this district's past resilience in the face of unimaginable challenges, there is no doubt in my mind that by working together, we will be able to unleash Newry, Mourne and Down's full potential.
Thank you very much, Councillor Devlin. Newry, Mourne and Down is a place where ambition thrives. It is a place where people get things done. Our Regeneration and Economic Development Strategy translates aspiration into action. It is a pathway to economic growth that will maximise our strengths and tackle the key issues to revitalise our region. Supporting local business and attracting investment and jobs is at the core of the strategy, which has been drawn up in collaboration with our partners. It is recognised that many of our local businesses are world leaders, flag bearers for our district and the wider region. There are niche successes satisfying a growing international appetite for innovation and craftsmanship. We have a thriving community of startups, entrepreneurs, driving their business to achieve growth. As a council, our strong, active and close working relationship with our strategic partners will keep us linked to a global market and will help to ensure that our future investment is delivered. As our chairperson of council has already touched on, we want to build on our record of business creation and new job opportunities. We want to help more people to get into work and to ensure that our workforce has the right skills. We want to help our economy to deal with the impact of both COVID-19 and Brexit through a strategy that helps us to go beyond. Our action plan supports investment and regeneration right across our district, focusing on key regeneration priorities for our council area, the importance of infrastructure, road, rail, but also digital, that is crucial to exploiting our unique position on the Eastern Economic Corridor and expanding our wider connectedness to other regions, both locally and internationally. The Regeneration and Economic Development Strategy has also been designed to be flexible and agile enough in order to respond to political and economic uncertainty. It can be adopted to enable council to address challenges and exploit new opportunities as they emerge. The district has a strong history of resilience, entrepreneurial spirit, and an ability to effectively adopt and respond to challenges. This strategy seeks to build on this by establishing an environment and economy for business to innovate, invest, grow, and expand into a thriving, successful region. The strategy is the outcome of engagement with many people committed to the development of this region and the future of its people. I want to thank each and every one of them for everything they have done to get us to this point. There are no doubt there are challenges ahead, but this strategy, being both robust and flexible, will allow us to face them with confidence and to relaunch our district. With all this in mind, we have recently commissioned a new Newry, Mourne and Down investment video, which highlights our district's unique investment proposition. And I'm pleased to present this video for the first time this afternoon. Thank you.
What a brilliant showcase of Newry, Mourne and Down, I think we'll all agree. Now, with the help of Marie, we are going to kick off our first panel session, which will focus on regeneration and modern infrastructure, one of the pillars within the strategy. Joining Marie on stage is Brian Lavery, who is Managing Director at Commercial Property Consultancy CBRE. And we also have, via the power of Zoom and technology, Mark O'Donnell, who's Deputy Secretary of the Department for Communities, Housing, Urban Regeneration and Local Government. You're all very welcome here today. I just want to kick off this discussion, and I think it's a really important question. And I'm going to throw it to you, Mark, down the technology line. How important is functioning, fit-for-purpose infrastructure for the future economic growth of Newry, Mourne and Down?
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and I'm sorry I can't be there with you this afternoon. I think infrastructure is really important. Regeneration and planning is about creating places. Placemaking is a term that we always use. It's about creating towns and cities that people want to invest and live in, and where they have reasons to visit. And I think that works best whenever you build on assets. So you create the conditions that support regeneration and investment. And I'd like to think that in DFC we've been able to do that a few times over recent years. And I suppose I'd better say I was the SRO for the Portrush Regeneration Programme, and in this company I'll say it's second only to Newcastle as the most wonderful seaside town in the world. But there we took a holistic approach and we looked at infrastructure as well as sort of business as usual for us. So, we ended up doing things like supporting TransLink and DFI to build the new railway station there. Our programme, when it's finished, will have spent about 17 million, and we think that will lead to a total economic return of at least 70 million. So infrastructure is a massive part of delivering regeneration in every town and village.
And Mark, going hand in hand with that, and indeed in your title, is urban regeneration, and that's such an important part of the jigsaw.
Absolutely. As I say, there's a number of things that we do and try and take a holistic approach. We do public realm and environmental improvement, and I see that reflected in your strategy. Part of my portfolio is housing as well, and we like to see that as part of what helps to create a place where people want to live, and where people who live there can feel very proud of it. So I think all of these things work together. I should say as well, from our department, was really delighted to see that you're reflecting the importance of heritage in the whole regeneration and investment effort, because that's something I think that isn't recognised enough, and just it's excellent to see that your strategy has brought that out.
Yeah, and again, heritage is something that just needs to be pulled along with all the other, with infrastructure and with regeneration of urban areas as well. Marie, if I could turn to you and look at a couple of specific infrastructure projects which are mentioned in the strategy. What do you think that the development of the Southern Relief Road in Newry and the Ballynahinch bypass, just to take two examples, mean for Newry, Mourne and Down?
Infrastructure, I think, as Mark has reflected, is absolutely critical to the regeneration of any area. And when you look at a project like the Southern Relief Road or the Ballynahinch bypass, they're projects that have been in the making for over a decade, and they will have such a huge positive impact locally. They will open up the area in a much wider way. They will encourage the deliveries, and they'll encourage business to grow as well, because it just will create a better connectivity. So they're critical to the regeneration of the area holistically.
And again, as Mark was saying there, it is good to have regeneration and infrastructure really at the heart of the strategy. Absolutely, and Newry, Mourne and Down have been very committed to regeneration throughout the whole term of the last council and indeed this council, and we've some really exciting regeneration plans across the district with the Newry regeneration projects, the Downpatrick regeneration projects, and then also not forgetting the regeneration plans that we have gone across all of our villages as well, working through rural development funding options as well. We work very, very closely with the Department for Communities to ensure that we can deliver a holistic picture across the district, and I think Mark's right, it's very much about place shaping. It's about creating a place where people want to live and to grow businesses and to grow up. And, you know, time has changed and COVID has had an impact on that as well. So we're all re-looking again at what that means. But I think the advantage that we have is we have, and you've seen the video there, we have the most spectacular
location, I would suggest, on this island, and indeed it's a key location globally. So it's just building on that and making sure that we can create something for the future generations to come.
And that location really is interesting as well, because it's smack bang in the middle of the Belfast to Dublin highway, as it were, and that Eastern Economic Corridor, which promises so much in the future and already delivers so much. Mark, if I could just ask you, how does Newry, Mourne and Down take advantage of that strategic position on the Eastern Economic Corridor and just make the most of it and make sure it's ready for the future?
Well, I think you're right. It's a unique position. It's a really key location. I don't want to bring Brexit into too much. That could be a challenge or it could be an opportunity, and it remains to be seen. But in terms of location, it's the area is fantastically placed. I think probably what we're all going to have to do is look at what does the new way of working and doing business mean for places. But I think no matter what that brings, if we can create the circumstances for investment, and where an attractive and good quality place where we try and remove some of the constraints to investment, I think it's your area is really well placed. And I think that's probably the only thing I'd like to draw out of the strategy from our perspective, just the key location. And I think your strategy is touching all the right points for me about how you maximise that.
Great words there, Marie, for you to hear. It really is key, that location, and the whole area has really made the most of it up until now, but there's so much more that can be made, and the strategy does seem to deal with all the need there to just drive the economy and drive the infrastructure forward. Yeah,
and I think it's also important to reflect that whilst we sit on the Belfast-Dublin Economic Corridor from a Newry perspective, we also have the advantage of we are on the Downpatrick side of our district. We're so close to Belfast city centre as well, and the opportunities that presents. So we really are in a prime location in all ways. So it's maximising the opportunities that will come from that. And we had been working on that for a number of years in looking at investment opportunities, development opportunities. And I think the COVID presents, if you can take from any challenge or crisis, there is always opportunities. And I suppose if we try to look for an opportunity here, it's the opportunity that the rurality of our area creates that will hopefully encourage people to look towards the Newry, Mourne and Down region to do business, because it gives them that very much open space aspect which people are craving now. So I think we can have plenty of opportunity to build on that and take the plans that we already have and maybe just reflect just the environment that we're in now, but create that real drive for investment into the region. So it's something we'll be concentrating very much on in the coming weeks, months and years, is what opportunities have been derived as a result of the where we're at as a planet, I suppose, at the minute even.
And it's interesting, that is a lot around tourism and even internal tourism or domestic tourism or from further afield, and I suppose infrastructure is key to really getting people in and out again.
Absolutely, road networks and the importance of those are critical, and Southern Relief Road will open another entry point from the south. We've always been pushing for the idea that people should turn left coming out of Dublin Airport. So anything that encourages them to come left coming out of Dublin Airport, and then to cross into the whole South Down area of the district as well, sure, and really enjoy that experience. And it's the same, with the Balnahinch bypass again that you mentioned. Unclogging our towns and cities is important, so getting the right infrastructure in there to allow people to access the towns and cities in the right way, and to enjoy it and not find it a challenge. I think that's key. So those infrastructure projects are going to be key to us moving forward.
You mentioned there about investment, and inward investment is key to this whole project. I want to turn to Brian. Brian, you're dealing with inward investors day in, day out. How important is road, rail and indeed digital infrastructure, which is another part of the infrastructure puzzle? How important is the consideration to inward investors when they're thinking of moving to an area?
Yeah, firstly, thank you very much for inviting here today, Marie. Hugely important. I think both yourself and David were talking about a jigsaw of drivers today. So, of course, infrastructure is massively important. That's why towns were built in the first place, because they're either a port or they're a crossroads that become a market town, the likes of Ballyhenge, Downpatrick, or ports, Newry, Warren Point, etc. So that's part of that jigsaw. The other part of the jigsaw is basically the ease of doing business in that area, and I think the council are very much looking at letting people in, making sure the planning works for people, making sure they can build what they want quickly and effectively, or utilise the properties that are already there, change use on those, etc. So ease of doing business. You've got to have these days you've got to have a young, technically savvy workforce, and that's been proven in Newry, certainly time after time, that's there. You've got to have a place that you can live, work and play in. I'm from the Mournes myself. There is nowhere more beautiful in the world. So you've got that, and as long as you create the places that people can work in effectively. And then you've got to finance as well. At CBRE we have the Northern Investment Fund, and that is specifically aimed at regeneration. So when you get all these pieces of the jigsaw coming together at the right time, I think it can be a great boost for the area.
Brian, you're also dealing in all areas of the commercial property market. I just wanted to, I mean, we've already mentioned how COVID has changed our inward-looking side of things when it comes to holiday making closely. In terms of the office market, how has that changed after the last few months?
Yeah, I personally think what COVID has done is pushed the office market probably 5 to 10 years. It was already going in the direction that you wanted more sustainable buildings, you wanted healthier buildings. You know, that health and wellness aspect has been pushed massively forward. So I don't think it's the death of the office. I think we need offices for collaboration. We need offices for learning amongst staff. And it's almost impossible to do business without what I call the accidental collisions between people, which create business. You know, the accidental conversations, or hearing somebody else talk to somebody else. And certainly for bringing people through, I think we have to be back in the office. But that office has to be a modern office, which is safe and which is technically advanced. And the way to do that is look at technology and how you monitor people coming in and out of office. And we've seen people like tech sports, or looking at how you monitor performance in people. You actually have to start now monitoring performance in buildings and realise, these are what people want, but you have to have that interfunction between people and their places. So again, when you're doing new development or regeneration, that's the time you can now look forward and future-proof those against, the unsatisfactory situation we've seen at the moment.
Fascinating stuff. It's an area it's really, really interesting. Okay, folks, amazingly our time is up on that particular panel session. Mark and Brian, I'd like to thank you for your brilliant contributions around the subject, which plays such an important part, as we've already said, in this the jigsaw and the future of the district. Marie's going to stay on for the next session, but before we move on to our entrepreneurship, business growth and innovation panel session, we have a short video to play for you. It's with a son of Downpatrick who runs a business in the town. Horatio Group's Stephen Magorrian owns the landmark hostelry Denver's, and he also is a key part of the regeneration plans for Downpatrick set out in the strategy document, which you'll get a chance to see. I caught up with him earlier this week just to get his views on Downpatrick and the regeneration going on there.
In 2013, myself and my cousin Christopher bought Denver's in Downpatrick, and Denver's was established in 1642. It's the oldest coaching inn in Ireland to continue to operate as such. So I suppose it's probably accurate to say that we're looking after it for the next generation. It's a very important business for the town in my view. We've been restoring it since we took it on. When we bought it in 2013, it wasn't in great shape. So we've been sort of just doing it up as we've gone along. And during this last lockdown, believe it or not, we've just opened some additional bedrooms in a Mews, which is 70 metres away from Denver's. So we've now got 15 let-in rooms, which includes 2 apartments. So our hope is that we're going to be able to attract a lot of tourists to Downpatrick in the years to come. The worst bit this time is we've no control. In Denver's, we're slightly lucky. It's not good, but because there's some work going on around the town, we have most of our rooms let out to builders, which we're allowed to do. We're obviously not allowed to have guests as such, but essential workers are allowed. And so we've managed to get some income in during this lockdown period, which has been a help. think and I hope that this is a great time for potential for Downpatrick. It's been difficult, but because of the lockdown, I think the local people have had the opportunity, when they've been forced to stay at home, to have a look around and to realise just how beautiful the place is and what potential it has. Going forward, Downpatrick to a large extent is a dormitory town for Belfast, but people are going to be working from home a lot more in the future. So it's a chance to be the best dormitory town in Northern Ireland, if that's what we're going to be. People are going to be looking for somewhere nice to live, not just somewhere good to sleep. So this is the right time to invest in the town. The opportunity that Airy Street presents and the car park there, it's almost 2 acres right in the centre of town. And I know that it's out for tender at the minute. We've asked for expressions of interest in what can be done there. That's a real opportunity and one not to be missed. We need to come up with something that will attract people into the town to visit or to work or to live, and create a space that the locals will use. There's not a lot of public space in the centre of town, so that has to be part of this, and it needs to be something interesting. And we're hoping, certainly hoping in the group that I'm involved with, that's what will happen. There's so much potential in the town, and we just need to try and make sure that we create space for everyone to show what they can do. And as I've said, with our rooms and that we just created, I think there's a great opportunity for tourism as well. I'm delighted to see what the St. Patrick's Centre is doing with their walks, and I'm delighted to see the investment that's gone on in the railway. There's a lot of other work being done by the council to try to promote tourism in the area. So in many, many ways, this is a great opportunity for Downpatrick. Yeah, council has stepped up to the mark along with government to say that they want to do something here that is exciting and is the right thing for the future. And I think it's up to us as business and as citizens to hold them to that. So if it isn't as strong as it needs to be, then we need to hold them to account, and we need to go back out again and re-tender. So this is a time that I think Downpatrick has to stand up for itself and make sure that we get what the town deserves, and ensure we tap into the potential, which I believe it undoubtedly has.
So we've heard from one business in the district about how important regeneration is to Downpatrick, which takes us nicely on to the Entrepreneurship, Business Growth and Innovation panel. For that, we're going to chat to the man who represents a range of business owners here. That's Colm Shannon. He's Chief Executive of Newry Chamber, along with someone who's firmly embedded in the Newry, Mourne and Down business world, Connaire McGreevy. Connaire is the man, and I'm only going to try and name some of them here, Connaire. CTS Projects, Mourne Mountain Brewery, the old Ship Inn in Warren Point, and he's also, as if he's not busy enough, chair of Warren Point Football Club. Colm, if I could turn to you first of all, how will Newry, Mourne and Down's regeneration and economic development strategy help businesses in the area?
I think it will be important. I mean, every region needs leadership, and the council through the strategy will provide that leadership. I mean, we through the chamber can see the work that they do with businesses in the Newry and Mourne and Down area. We would have, I suppose, the high-profile global businesses that everybody would know about. But by and large, our area is made up of the small businesses, and the council has a very active team working closely with them. And I suppose this last 6 to 8 months, it's been about retaining jobs. But I think through the strategy, it will be about trying to nurture future jobs as we come out of the COVID period, hopefully by next spring. I certainly think the strategy is an ambitious strategy, but I think at this stage, the business community, even the wider public, are looking for ambition and are looking for councils to be stretching themselves, to be challenging, and we hope that this strategy will then provide that framework for businesses to grow.
It's certainly challenging for businesses at the moment, but it's interesting that the strategy really tries to grow the areas that we're already good in and also address the areas of deficit and that really need a bit of attention and investment.
Yeah, I think that's important. It's to grow on your strengths, and I suppose Newry, and we heard it in the earlier contributions, its strategic location has allowed us to broaden out the business base of the area, and I think that provides a strong platform for the strategy to move on from and for local businesses to grow.
Connaire, if I could just turn to you for a second. I mean, you really have your finger on the pulse of business in the region. How do you find the strategy in terms of addressing your need as a business owner of many businesses?
I think the strategy is very good in that it mentions the word collaboration in a number of places. And for me, that's key to everything a business does. A business doesn't function in isolation. You need sales, you need customers, you need a market. And I think this strategy here is going to link a lot of the key players together, from colleges to the chamber to business itself. The innovation, there's a mention of a digital hub and things like that in there. And I think it's really, really good to pull everyone together. And that's the strategy will be the overarching document that keeps us all together.
And interesting, one of the themes in the strategy is to really support entrepreneurship. There's no better example as an entrepreneur as you. I mean, how much will that help the entrepreneurs that are coming through of tomorrow?
Yeah, entrepreneurs, what we need to see is a council or a governing body that's going to support you, that's going to help and guide you to achieve the ambitions that you have. And that's the one thing, over 15 years in business now, I'm always aspiring for better, and you're always having to knock the door of someone to try and help you get there. So for me, I think that the document is that guiding touch in hand that's going to lead other entrepreneurs along the way. There's a thing called, the small, big impact, and it's entrepreneurs who start small, end up making a huge impact, the big impact upon society. You just have to look at some of the global players, Apple, Facebook, Google, etc. for that. And there's no doubt in my mind that with the likes of this document and guidance that Newry, Mourne and Down could achieve one of the next big global players.
Colm, I mean, a lot of your a lot of the companies that you represent, those businesses and big businesses like Connaugh's, like First Derivatives, like Finnebrogue, many others, have grown out of entrepreneurs with an idea and with the will and just the hard work of getting it done. That must be really key, that just really supporting more of those coming through for the area and for your organisation.
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship is really in the DNA of the Newry, Mourne and Down area, and we can see it the likes of Connor. But chatting last week to the Newry and Mourne Enterprise Centre since April, and we've been in very challenging times. They have had 78 business plans put together for new startups. That's people who are starting out afresh in what is a very challenging time, and last month alone 20. So it shows that there are people out there are people who are keen to move forward, and hopefully they will be the global players in 5-10 years time. But there is confidence still, despite everything, that people want to take that chance, that they see Newry, Mourne Down as the place where they want to start out and build a business.
Of course, entrepreneurs are only one part of that particular jigsaw. For bigger businesses that are growing, this strategy also looks at, in particular, skills and making sure that the right type of skills are coming through to meet business demand. That must be another really important part of it.
Yeah, and one of the advantages, I think, in our area is that very strong, there's a clear bridge between the business community and the education sector, between the secondary grammar schools and with the SRC. And increasingly, we see a recognition within the business community, and I know you'll be hearing from Brian later about the importance of that apprenticeship route, and that reflects the skills that business actually need. And we can see the education sector tilting and turning to ensure that it meets the needs of the business community. And I think that's an important aspect of the strategy, and something that we will be happy to work with the council and with the education sector on.
And Connor, I know it's key for you, because when we were chatting beforehand, Brian from SRC found out that you have a couple of students from the college, and that skills side of things must be really important to you.
It's really important to us. I also think it's very important to young people in particular to actually find a different route into the business world. I was saying to Brian, we have a HLA, higher level apprentice, with us now in the finance side. So it's an unusual route now. The encouragement in the past has been to go to school, get your A-levels, and then go on university. For me, in particular, the debt that students are coming into, the colleges have a major role to play, and not only helping my business and other business in Newry and Mourne, but right across Northern Ireland, in getting people placed within business. And there's plenty of people out there that would be willing to take on higher level apprenticeships.
And as a business owner, just to touch on our previous panel, infrastructure must also be key to you.
Infrastructure is major. I mean, for me, and maybe very selfishly, it's the Southern Relief Road has to happen for Newry and Mourne and Down to succeed. It will open up the entire southern part of the Mournes to tourism and also to business. That's key. I mentioned our Mugan comments about digital and the digital hub. digital is the next big thing. We really need to get on top of it because we're losing, right across Northern Ireland is losing out to other places in the world. So it's good to see it heavily in here. So the digital infrastructure, you drive around Warren Point in Newry now at the minute and you see, these ultra high, hyper fast things called broadband going in. That's needed. And we've seen it throughout this COVID, how people have changed their habits. I'm not a big fan. Here we are, digital on Zoom here today. We've got team meetings and things like that, but it's going to play a major part in the infrastructure of the future.
And as somebody who's bought your beer, I know that you're very, very good on the tech side and teasing me on a Thursday about how I order my beers for the weekend. So, yeah, I know how important that is. But in serious, Colm, infrastructure, again, just for the whole breadth of business must just be something that it'll really unlock the potential of businesses in the region, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would echo Connor's comments about the Southern Relief Road. It is the key infrastructure project for us in Newry Chamber. We want to see it delivered and delivered on time. And I think the council has an important role to play in ensuring that they lobby on our behalf and on behalf of the businesses across the district council area, because there will be other competing priorities in Northern Ireland. But can I also say, as part of that is the Belfast Region City Deal, and just bringing together the various elements of the infrastructure projects, the physical infrastructure like the Southern Relief Road, the digital innovation that needs to be invested in Newry, and the tourism projects as well. Mm-hmm. I think that all neatly knits together to give a very strong infrastructure framework that will be a benefit for businesses, not just in the next 5 years, but going beyond that.
Marie, the strategy really does place business right at its heart in terms of trying to drive everything from social, from infrastructure, it really does seek to help business to make them become the best they possibly can.
Do you know, David, for me, prior to being in the role of Chief Executive, I was the Director of Enterprise Regeneration and Tourism with the Council, and the Council is here to provide a strategic leadership and direction role. But actually, it's our communities and our businesses that make Newry, Mourne and Down. And it's really important that the strategy puts those at the heart of what we're doing. And I think Connor referred to collaboration, and collaboration is key for us. The people that are working and have created businesses in the Newry, Mourne and Down region have made it what it is. And they are the people that will support the generations coming forward now, and it's important for us as a council to ensure that we can make every opportunity available to those businesses to grow, because in doing that we really are supporting a very young generation that's coming through, and we want them to stay in this area and we want them to grow. We want them to create the next stage of what Newry, Mourne and Down will look like. So it's been critical that business and the collaboration with businesses at the heart of the strategy.
Thanks for some great insight there, guys. It's good to have representation from business here and somebody that's living it every day as well, just to get a flavour of how important this strategy is. So thank you for your time. Amazingly, again, our panel for that particular session is up. It's clear that regeneration and economic strategy is going to help business to reach their potential in the region. And in so doing, I think it's going to create a bright future for everybody. Next, we're going to move on to skills, one of the most vital aspects of any vibrant economy. We've touched on it slightly there, but we're going to have a deeper dive into it. Before we begin that panel session, we're going to show you a short video showcasing the further and higher education colleges in Newry, Mourne and Down. So we've had a glimpse at one of the seats of learning in Newry, Mourne and Down district. Now we're going to analyse another of the key pillars of regeneration and economy development strategy, which is employability and skills. To do that, I'm joined by Brian Doran, Chief Executive of Southern Regional College, and Jayne Brady, who is Digital Innovation Commissioner at Belfast City Council. Brian, if I could turn to you first. How reactive is the education sector in Newry, Mourne and Down to the needs of business? Because that's key to an evolving business sector. How reactive can you be to the evolving needs of business and in anticipating future need as well?
I think that's absolutely critical. The role of education, and if I can put this in the context of the role of further education, we're very much at the heart of the skills agenda. We have welcomed the Council's launch of the strategy and the recognition of the importance of skill in terms of economic development. The agility of a college to respond is absolutely crucial, both currently and indeed looking into the future. And I think we've demonstrated that over recent times in our own college, the Southern Regional College, as well as the South Eastern Regional College, through the development of the new higher level apprenticeship system. That has been really, really transformational over recent years, where, again, we are working very closely with business, working closely with the council as well to drive that. And, you know, to quote some figures, over that period, we've had 500 new higher level apprenticeship places created as a result of that initiative. And that's about the college working with industry to identify need, to develop the underpinning qualifications and be responsive to the needs of local industry. And that's bearing fruit.
And that must be quite difficult, because business itself doesn't know what it's going to need in 5 years' time. And yet you've got to react really quickly and be able to produce the right type of skills to meet demand.
I think that's the challenge for us all. And that's where I welcome within the strategy, I think Marie alluded to it earlier, the need for collaboration and partnership is absolutely fundamental if we are to make a sea change in terms of the economic future of the area. It is about us working together, developing an understanding as far as we possibly can. And that's a challenge in itself, looking to the future, what those skill needs are. Because as a college, we have to plan as well for the future. We have to invest in the future. And we're doing that presently. So we're working with Council, hopefully, on the development of a new higher education and innovation centre, where our focus there will be in areas like engineering, applied industrial science, as well as innovation. So we're trying to do that. But again, it does involve a clear partnership working with Council and with industry.
Jayne, I can see you nodding your head there. There's no sector where the changing needs of industry change quicker than in the technology side of things. How important is it to you that educational establishments can flex and can really meet the needs of business?
Yes, thank you. I'm delighted to be here and have the invitation. I work in terms of collaboration, and I work with Brian and with Mary through the Belfast Region City deal, which is a collaboration about innovation and digital. Would you say how important it is? I think we're all around here digitally connected. I was speaking to Mary earlier, and how much our world has changed. The things that we thought weren't going to be possible has changed with the level of digital transformation. But for me, the bit about digital and innovation, it isn't a destination in itself. It's a means to an end, and it's a means to provide inclusion and prosperity. And the business case for that is really clear within the kind of UK parameters. Analysis done by TechNation. In Northern Ireland, 23% of all the jobs advertised last year were in digital tech roles. That was the highest in the UK. The next is London and Bristol at 19%. So actually, it's a really significant opportunity. Average salaries in that range about 40,000. So really brilliant opportunities for our region and for Newry, Mourne and Down. I guess that's where the city deal is how we bring those skills base, because it's all about creating those skills in the pipelines to deliver on our really ambitious things for city deal in terms of where we want to get to in 10 years. But to start with where we are, to start with all the great real ingredients. And actually, Newry, Mourne and Down has so many rich ingredients. And it's got, entrepreneurial itself is a skill, and we talked earlier from Colm regarding those kind of key skills. It's got some really anchor entrepreneurial businesses. But I guess taking those skills and kind of providing a pathway to reskill, and with my colleagues in council and the colleges, we delivered a Digital Futures programme just in the last number of months. And that was looking at those graduates coming out who didn't have digital skills, and knowing that the labour market was really compressed, and saying, okay, we know there's a really big opportunity. We can't fill all those places at the moment. So how can we reskill them rapidly? So we're working with the colleges to actually provide that 10-week reskilling opportunity, and then working with our businesses to give a placement piece to actually build that capacity, build that pipeline, and give hope and opportunities based on kind of where we see those core opportunities for the future.
And that reskilling aspect is so key to tap into a ready market really quickly, Brian, and I know you guys are working closely.
Absolutely, Jayne's absolutely right. I mean, there's an excellent example of what we can do working together because that's not going to change. We do need to be able to be responsive.
Yeah, and really drive it. And it's interesting, I think, in Newry, Mourne and Down, there are so many, and from the technical side of it, there are so many really brilliant businesses from StatSports or First Derivatives that are embedded in that technology sector. And not only do they offer, a job, but they're well-paid jobs as well, Jayne. They're really.
And actually, even globally, if you're looking towards what are the big mega trends coming our way, it's in that we've seen health and life sciences. You've got Norbrook there, real anchor perspective, and an Indigenous community around that. You've got that fintech, cyber, and actually even the move into that KX piece. And then you've got health and life sciences, that health piece in StatSports, really significant kind of world-class organisations. And I think it's really interesting. And you've got Martin Naughton as well, kind of the pedigree of the engineers, and you've got MGM, all that engineering piece. But actually what that's done for this area is, we talk about growing the skills in digitally, it's brought skills into that area. As part of the First Derivatives training programme, it's bringing people in because the roles are of such a world-class standard that it brings skill sets into the area. So I think that's, the region has to be really commended with developing those type of organisations which are really standing out as world-class in the key sectors we will need for the next 5 and 10 years.
And those kind of hubs, Brian, in particular the ones around Newry, Mourne and Down, they must really help with getting students interested in a certain subject and really pushing them into it.
Yeah, you mentioned, for example, StatSports. That's again about that linkage that we have with such a prestigious company, and that's about providing opportunity for our students. So we have placement internships within StatSports, but we're also using the company to actually support the delivery of modules. We use their technology, we use their kit in terms of the delivery of data analytics type and analysis modules within our sports science programs, for example. Similarly, with our work with First Derivatives, we're currently developing a new FinTech Foundation degree that will underpin a higher level apprenticeship. And again, I think back to 6 years ago when we started work with Norbrook on the very first higher level apprenticeship in our region, all illustrating the work that we're doing in conjunction with industry. And again, that's where the strategy is so important, and the council support to the college, to industry, through, for example, our big apprenticeship event that we hold annually. There's over 100 local companies who have employed a higher level apprentice over the last few years. And that's not including also apprentices at a lower level, level 2 and level 3. So it is extremely important part of what we do. And without that engagement, without that future planning, etc., we are not going to deliver. So I'm confident. I really welcome the launch of the Economic Development Strategy here today, and the work that we are ongoing with council and with industry at the moment.
Marie, this skills side of things really just fits into that whole jigsaw and is a key pillar of the strategy.
Absolutely, and I think every time you look at every element of the strategy, everything comes back to growing and creating space for the people in the district and people outside of the district, and skills is at the heart of that. I have to say, and every day for me becomes a learning day, and even sitting here today, it really reinforces to me that Newry, Mourne and Down has absolutely all the ingredients for huge success. Our education sector is absolutely second to none. Our business base is second to none. The area we live in is second to none. And it's taken all of that and creating the space for growth. And I think Jayne reflected on inclusion. It's about ensuring that everybody can be included in that. It's ensuring that everybody has that opportunity. And again, I continually reflect on, we have a role to play for future generations. And what we're doing is we're creating the space for them in the next 15, 20 years, where they'll be sitting in a place like this with an absolutely successful and huge opportunities business base of a district. So skills are absolutely at the heart of it. And just to reflect on the Belfast Region City deal, for me, it's more than. Sometimes we get ingrained in what the projects are or what the bits are, but that's not what that's about. What it is about is it is about the collaboration. It's about how it has brought partners together. It's about how it has brought councils together. It's about what we are doing to look towards what are the huge opportunities and chances that we can create for the people and the communities that live in the district. So Belfast Region City deal shouldn't be just looked at as an infrastructure project or a skills project. It's the opportunity that creates collaboration and really the opportunity for growth, not just in Newry, Mourne and Down, but right across Northern Ireland. So and it's also a different way of local government working in partnership with the wider partners across government. And it's a new way of working, and it really is such a huge, exciting opportunity to change how we do things.
Jayne, would you agree that collaboration around the city deal, around skills, around everything is key?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I was just saying what Marie said. But actually, that's what I saw. So I came new into this post from the private sector. And actually, when we did that, we did a digital task and finish group, we knew the big opportunity in the jobs there was in digital tech, and we knew that there was going to be lots of young people coming out with no opportunities at that stage. So we just marshalled together with everyone here and around the councils for colleges, 2 universities, all 6 councils, Department for the Communities, Department for the Economy, Invest and I. We all broke it around, and we had just had a common goal to see where can we actually provide that. And it brought, I guess you form relationships by doing, and then getting success, and that was one part of it. We're now looking at an apprenticeship programme as well with Brian's organisation about how we put that in place. But it has to start with inclusion to build that, because we didn't have enough skills to fulfil the demand with those those grads. And actually, what I see, what is increasingly you see with technology, it is becoming democratised. I mean, my mother uses AI every day in Alexa, and she doesn't know that she uses it. But actually it is, so you don't need to go to university for 3 years to have a digital skill and competency. So almost it's bringing that, and I think that's what the city deal does so well. It's not something for the elite, because it's communities are engaged and councils are engaged, and you can make it kind of real as part of that. So I think that's the special kind of magic secret sauce that the city deal has come out maybe as an inconsequential kind of impact of it.
I was just going to make a comment there, David. One of the things, again, I welcome within the strategy is the importance that is placing on future careers, education and advice. And this is about, again, a wider engagement with the education sector, our local schools, and ensuring that the opportunities that are clearly within our region, both now and indeed the future, that's properly articulated and that young people understand what those opportunities are with our local companies.
Sure. It's clear that employability and skills, we could talk about this all day. There's so much around it, but thank you so much for your contributions today. It's been really interesting, and thank you again for stepping up. It's easy to see how the skills really will be the future for Newry, Mourne and Down, and we'll talk more on it again at another time, I know. Before we wrap up today, amazingly that panel went so quickly, we have a real treat for you in the form of a short interview with someone who has made a big impression on Newry, Mourne and Down in the last few months. Mick Boyle founded and runs Abergeldie Complex Infrastructure on the other side of the world in Sydney, so you probably haven't heard of that part of his business, but he may be better known to some of you as one half of the husband and wife team behind Killeavy Castle. He's deep roots in this part of the world, and Mick and Robin have transformed what was once a derelict castle into a top-class hotel, spa and restaurant. I haven't been to it yet, but my colleague has and says it's wonderful. We caught up with Mick from Australia last week to find out about his fantastic regeneration project in South Armagh.
Killeavy is a magical place, and I've been visited to Killeavy for the last 25 years. My mother and father are both born in Killeavy, and we emigrated to Australia, but I've got lots of aunties, uncles and cousins, and I've come back regularly with my wife and children as well. And while I was over, the castle was for sale, and it was just the talk of the country. But the whole idea to buy it and develop into something sort of evolved over the next few months back in Australia, and then eventually just join the auction, and then we had it. Look, as I said, I'm connected there, but it actually didn't feel that far away. It only felt a day away. You know, it's a little bit different now with COVID and travel restrictions in Australia, but to get to Killeavy, for me, was a lot easier than to get to a lot of places in Australia. I could be there quicker than some parts of Australia, so it never felt that far away. And when I got there, I always felt at home. So, and I knew I had plenty of friends to help with things. So, you know, it wasn't a factor for me. To get started was a long, hard slog, and then the whole construction itself was probably for me personally much more so, because I was heavily involved and was probably there a couple of weeks a month for 2 years, so over and back, and my family, my wife Robin and my 15-year-old son at the time came and lived with me for 6 months over there. So it was a long, hard job, and but eventually we got it opened, and that was Easter before last, and then we had the official opening in July 2019, and that week or so was wonderful time. The opening day, official opening day itself, the sun was shining, Killeavy just looked stunning, the place looked lovely, and my mother and father were able to come to cut the ribbon. So and I had brothers and sisters and lots of family. We had a couple of really great family celebrations. So that, you know, was a real highlight, probably a highlight of my life actually. Our ideas and our architects' ideas were aligned, and you know, they did a very good job. And then Newry Architects, O'Hagan and Associates. I think the whole place benefited from the fact that the architects loved the place and loved the area, but had never designed a hotel before. We loved the place and loved the area and never built a hotel before. It's not all done yet. It's still quite an important stage, and we've built a very good team, and they're working very well. But to make this into a business that's secure and will be around, we've got a little bit more work to do. We know we will get there, but you know, the job isn't all done at Killeavy yet. But you know, I think when it is done, we might be able to look at something else.
What a brilliant story, just to hear what Mick has done there at Killeavy. It really is it's going to be a linchpin for drawing tourists in the future, and I know that for sure. That brings our proceedings today to a close. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all our panellists that were up here and gave up their time today to look through the strategy. I'd also like to thank you for tuning in and watching us. I think we can all agree that this strategy, we have a roadmap here which will help the Newry, Mourne and Down region in the future to create a high growth economy, which in turn will nurture a positive society and boost prosperity for all. Thank you all for watching today, and goodbye.